wafers loaded into that. No, this is FOUP. This is a stocker. Okay. FOSP doesn't come inside this. This is a factory flow. Right. This is FOSP is from the warehouse. You can't carry a raw wafer by hand, right? So you have to have it in a storage box. That storage box will look similar to FOUP, but it is not a FOUP. It is called as a FOSP. Yes.
So the wafer we are taking out from the FOUP and putting into the FOSP. From
FOSP to no, yeah. From FOUP it won't go back to FOSP because after a wafer has completed this process, it will cut and become chips.
Right.
Okay. So that is a different concept. So both FOSP and FOUP are called as carriers. And a FOUP is the carrier, but a carrier is not only a carrier can be FOSP or
why they have two different reasons?
The naming, no reason. A FOUP is a kind of a costlier one because it is designed according to the equipments. So equipment has a port, it is designed according to the equipments. But FOSP doesn't have much requirement as FOUP because it is just storing the wafers so that it is not damaged. But a FOUP will have layers so that the equipment has to go and fetch the wafer carefully without damaging the FOUP or the wafer. So it has certain requirements, specifications that should be so and so size and everything according to the.
Therefore, the number of wafers comes out should be different from the FOUP.
Not necessarily. It can be anything.
Anything, right? Just for storing purpose.
Yes. Okay. Coming back to APC. Okay. So APC, we have seen all these systems. There are so much of systems working on. One is working for the material handling system. One is working on which process to handle. One is working on what are the durables and consumables used. One is working on what should happen when something bad happens. One is working on the alarm management system where it notifies where this is. Everything were sold individually by different companies. So when, for example, when Intel or NVIDIA was buying a machine, they were buying the execution system from. So MES is one system. So MCS is one system. Durables is one system. So previously we have so many competitors, right? So the customer can go to any competitor and buy each system from one after another. But the customer had a huge headache that we can see that from the way I explained it, all the systems are interlinked with one another. It is going to be the same equipment, same FOUP, same carrier, same wafer and everything, but it has different IDs in each system. So the integration was very difficult. So for this, Applied Materials came with something called as SIP, Computer Integrated Manufacturing, where we sell all the system together as a single software. So MES, MCS, so since everything was made by us, we sold it together as a package, something called as SIP, Computer Integrated Manufacturing. So it is just a name, it is not separate software. It includes all the systems so that when we are selling the customer, when we are selling the equipment itself, we'll say that we have all the systems together as a package, so it is easier for us to sell to them. So So when I was saying that, so obviously when a multi-billion-dollar factory going on to a number of processes, they don't automatically go and run the direct wafer into that. Instead, it goes before an actual process happens. It goes to two stages. One is a simulation. So before a process happens, in that system is called as full auto. So in the sim solution, we also give full auto, where we can also simulate that what will happen when I run this process. Anything might have a problem. So every information is loaded into that. We'll have a simulation. The second is the test wafer. So before, when a new equipment comes in, so yes, okay, I don't see any recording thing. Where is it? Oh, it showed me. Okay. So that's why to avoid failures, one is simulation happens. The second one is when they are selling a new equipment, no customer is going to run their first slot into that. So even if they have run the simulation, it is a new system. We don't know what will happen. So they will run something called as a test wafer that is called as a pilot lot. So the pilot lot will be run to test the system, to make the system, make sure everything works as it is.
They have a pre-set of systems, they will verify whether everything is as expected.
No, that is a monitoring wafer, not a test wafer. There are different types of test wafer. Again, that is a huge topic. There are monitor wafer, there are dummy wafer, there are season wafer, there are furnace wafer. There are different types of test wafers. Just understand this part. When if needed for any application you are going to work, you will learn more about that. So a test wafer can be a dummy wafer or a season wafer. So I'll just give a brief example to test a new system. So a test wafer can also not only be used for testing an actual equipment, it will also be used to fill the empty slots. For example, I was explaining system. So a wafer has to go through a furnace to be heated. But consider, for example, the equipment furnace was used for a long time. It is burning the first and third wafer, the last wafer always. So what they will do is they will only keep 23 production wafer. Okay, so a wafer can be defined as two things. One is a test wafer, the second is a production wafer. Production wafer is the actual one which is running through that one. That is why it's called as, if it's a production wafer running, it is called as a production lot. If it is a test wafer running, it's called as a test pilot lot. Even in the production lot, they will fill the test wafer. That's where dummy wafers comes in. So test wafer I said two types. Usually, first is a dummy wafer, which is just used to fill the slots. So I know if I put it in the furnace, the first lot and last lot is not going to give me the exact result, or it is going to burn up or something. I'll put a dummy wafer in that and make sure the first and last lot is filled. So that's where the dummy test wafer works. The second is a monitor wafer. It's posted in the last lot, you said. Let's say last slot, okay. Not lot. Okay. Again, don't confuse this. That's what I thought. The second is a monitor wafer, where the one which he explained, when I'm getting an equipment, I need to have an expected result for this equipment. So what I'll do is, in addition to 25 wafers in a lot, I'll introduce a monitor wafer into one top. Usually a monitor wafer will be added in the first slot, in the middle slot, and in the last slot of a particular lot. To make sure, once the process is completed, instead of testing all the 25 wafers, 25 production wafers, they will pick out the dummy wafers and test whether the result is as accurate as expected. So if this is tested in a production lot, it might get damaged. So they will use the test wafer in this case to monitor whether the process has given the expected result at the end. Okay, so each system, when I mention there are other systems, so I've just given the main ones. So each system has an individual role, but looks like MES doesn't have any role, right? What does MES do then? Everything has different roles. What does MES do?
MES is
Manufacturability and record everything. Production loss.
There is a different system for that.
Everything include under MES.
Yeah, everything is part of MES.
For example, you don't fab ID,
Everything is part of system.
fab ID, lot ID, everything can track everything.
Yeah, I can have that in a different system and use it from that system.
The same also can be the operation activities which need to be maintained, that is called activity.
Not necessarily. So for that, we have something called as, what is that? Workflow. So I can give a workflow and say this is the workflow that needs to be done.
Operator interface need to be required. That's the management of the routing, but the operator dashboard also need required. One activity is performed, but not operation.
Not exactly.
lot changes also.
I'm sorry.
Lot changes also. MES.
Lot change on logic.
Energy tracking.
Hello.